Hello all, it's now 1:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for coming today. Welcome to our August Barrier Busters meeting. So on our agenda today, we'll be convening. If anyone has anything that they'd like to share about plans they have later this summer and just your name, just as an icebreaker, that would be great. I'll go ahead and start. My name's Amber Coleman. I work for OCED. I'm really looking forward to Summerfest this weekend.
I just want to know, what is Summerfest?
So there is a festival in my hometown that's a lot of nonprofits giving away things for free. Lots of volunteers. They have a dog show. It's great. Did anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Oh, that's okay. Just thought we're trying to figure out how to do networking, get you guys talking to each other in this online space. So if anyone has any great ideas about that, feel free to share. Either a chat or an email, like what would be engaging for you guys or helpful. All right. So this month we'll be hearing from the Silver Club Memory Programs with their director, Shannon. We'll also be hearing from the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic with Nicole. And I'll be giving a funding update. Oh, thank you, Christine. Christine shared that she
I had
I
had other people in the area, so I couldn't talk right then and there. But yeah, I just got done from the UP. I just got back from the UP, so it was a lot cooler up there. It took 23 up, and it was gorgeous. So just really enjoying the hot weather down here because it's starting to get too cold to swim in Lake Huron. So glad to be back.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing. Right. Nicole, if you are ready to present, you can start whenever you're ready.
Sure, sure, I can do that. Let's see, let me just share my screen here. Everybody, this is going to be a fairly short presentation, so don't freak out, but I do have a mini PowerPoint. All right, do y'all see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. All right, so basically, this presentation is basically just to make sure that people know that we exist and are available to help your clients and kind of give you an idea of the scope of what it is we do. So we're going to cover just briefly who we are, how we work, what we can do, either for your organization or your clients, and what we can't do for your clients, and then just some typical scenarios so that you get a little window into our world of what that means. So who we are a student clinic at the University of Michigan Law School. The law school has something like 18 different clinics. How it works is we have lawyer professors, that's me, and we supervise real students who represent real clients with full attorney-client privilege and everything else, a full representation, and they are supervised by me. This particular clinic is funded by a matching grant, actually technically from the IRS, supervised by the National Taxpayer Advocate, who is part of the IRS but reports directly to Congress. And our grant is for providing tax controversy services and also tax literacy education services. So we'll get into that in a second. So how do we work? For the representation, when we're representing real life clients, our students are what we call first chair, which means the student is the primary point of contact with the client. But of course, they're closely supervised by me. We have class 4 hours a week, plus I have an hour-long meeting every single week with every single client about every single one of their cases, plus additional supervision as is appropriate for the case. So everything is definitely on my bar license. So I am definitely motivated to watch over things carefully. But the clients get the benefit of a really active, the students are generally speaking very engaged and excited to be doing the work, and they're super smart and doing a really good job. So there's a benefit. We get all this lawyering first. Most people cannot hire, actually even middle income people can't really afford to hire tax attorneys usually. So it's a service that we can provide, and it's no cost to the client. I think in our retainer agreement, we reserve the right to like charge costs if there's something, but we never have, and I don't anticipate that actually happening. One of the flip side downsides is there is an academic schedule rhythm. There's a fall term, a winter term, and then I actually hire law students in the summers. And in between, so there's turnover in students, and there's also like a pause in August, December, and May when I'm kind of between students. During those times, I will handle any emergencies, of course, things that need to happen right away. And so there isn't, a total dropout, but we're not moving forward kind of the pedestrian things that I want to save for students to work on. So there is that kind of schedule to it, but we are basically always there otherwise, and nothing should ever be not happen that needs to happen on a particular schedule. But there is some turnover, and clients do, they'll like one student better than a different student. And, there's that kind of dynamic that happens, but that's just part of it. We do, because we operate under a grant, we have some requirements. People's income can't be more than 250% of the federal poverty level, or most of our clients need to be under that. And also there needs to be no more than $50,000 per tax year in controversy, which is generally not an issue for our lower income clients, unless there is some extraordinary thing, in which case I could maybe have exceptions. But that's our basic picture. Also, because we are a student-run clinic, or a student
I'll be back.
clinic.
Get myself something to eat.
Nope.
Sorry about that. We're having some difficulties for some reason.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, let's see. I don't know how far back I was muted.
Only for a few seconds. Nicole.
Okay, excellent. Oh, right.
It was, you were talking about it being a student-run clinic, and some, it was about there right after the controversy.
Right. So it could also be that we can't take absolutely everybody just because it may be beyond the student capacity to do a certain number of cases, right? Anyway, but then basically all you do is you just call our number, and of course that's also available on the law school website. There's also even a place where people can ask for our services online through the law school website for the clinics. But the easiest way is just to call our phone number, and our clinic administrator will have an initial conversation, and then an advanced clinician, a student who's been in the clinic for at least one term, we'll do a follow-up conversation from kind of a legal perspective, and then I make the final decision as far as whether or not somebody can become a client.
I'm shocked Paula's leaving, but I'm glad she's gonna be doing something she wants to do.
I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, okay, not a question. All right. So we can also do some things for organizations. We can do educational presentations. Those can be for either your staff or for groups of your clients. On all kinds of basic tax information, right? Rights and obligations. So tax literacy, kind of how the federal tax system works, different deductions and credits that may be available for your clients, things to do during tax season, how to avoid scammers, fraudulent preparers, all those kinds of things. Collection alternatives, overviews, how to fight a tax issue. We can go into whatever depth would be helpful for either, again, for your staff, if you want kind of an in-service on that, or if you have a group of clients who would benefit from a presentation like that, we can also tailor it toward them. And these are done generally by my advanced students, with me also present and supervising everything. So these are students who have already been through the clinic for a term and are in a better position to provide this kind of education. So that is something we can do for your organization or for groups of clients. For individual clients, we enter full attorney-client relationships. And that is with regards to what we call tax controversy. So a tax controversy is when there's a disagreement between the person and the IRS regarding how much of a refund or liability should be. So, they've claimed something, the IRS has denied it, or on the collection side with regards to how much they can pay. Maybe they can pay nothing, maybe they can pay an installment agreement, maybe something else, right? So we can get right into it. That can be informal. We can deal with the IRS collections on that. We can also help with an audit, at appeals. We file lawsuits in tax court all the time, or come in. It's fairly easy to actually file a lawsuit in tax court. And so then sometimes people file and then we can come in afterwards to help them in that case. We can also do Michigan Treasury matters, Michigan state income tax matters, if they're ancillary to a federal tax matters. That just means you also have a federal issue, and then we can also pick up your Michigan issue if we have that. So those are the kinds of representations we do. Just to be clear, there are a few things that we can't do. Of course, people or matters that fall outside the scope of our grant. And what that means is, for example, we don't file current year tax returns or catch people who have been non-filers up on multiple years of back tax returns. There's what I kind of think of as a cousin grant, because they're also supervised by the National Taxpayer Advocate. The VITA grant you may have heard of, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Centers, and they are the ones who are supposed to be doing tax prep in bulk. We also, under the terms of our grant, we can't refer people to private tax preparers or representatives. If, say, somebody is outside of our scope, I can't say, oh, but Joe Smith does this, because that could create a conflict of interest. Similarly, we can't do lobbying because we've got a federal grant. This is a fairly significant one. We don't do property tax issues. We're really just about individual income tax. So if somebody is being foreclosed on, that is outside of our scope. As you guys may know, though, or may want to know, the Washington County Treasurer's Office tries to be accommodating, and they have Bonnie Guest, basically an on-site social worker. I think her title is something like foreclosure prevention specialist, right within the Treasurer's Office. So just FYI, that would be a good place to contact if there is in fact also a property tax issue. We also don't really do corporate tax issues. We're really just for individual income tax. So if somebody has a business and they've got inventory or employees, but they're doing it as an LLC or a sole proprietorship, and so that flows through onto their individual income tax return, we may be able to help. But if you have, again, inventory, employees, a corporation, we are not going to get involved with that because it's really about the individual. But we can do, so for example, I think I have, some typical scenarios. This will give a little bit more color to what it is that we do. So for example, the top one, establishing that the client was entitled to claim certain dependents in order to get things like the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit. There are many stages at which the IRS might question this. Right up front in the beginning, they might basically do an audit and ask a person to claim it, or they may have asked for additional documentation. Maybe the person didn't respond, they didn't know what to do, or they sent in something, but it wasn't sufficient. And so maybe they deny it later. And so these are things that we can help with to make sure that people are getting the money that they're entitled to. We also, sometimes people do file returns that claim earned income that they didn't actually earn. And they do that to get a lucrative earned income tax credit. But then that can cause problems for them later with their Section 8 housing or SSDI eligibility, because now we have a written document that's been filed with the federal government saying that they've earned a certain amount of money, and they don't realize that there are these consequences that come. And so sometimes we can help straighten those things out so that they can long-term stay in their housing and continue and be approved for or not lose their SSDI. On the other hand, there are times when a client didn't report income that they maybe didn't realize either was income or would be reportable income. So for example, if you have a credit card debt written off, or you've had your home taken in a foreclosure, there could, or the IRS could think that you have what we call cancellation of debt income, which means that your life balance sheet looks better because you don't have this debt on it. And there are circumstances where that's going to count as then income. And then the IRS will start sending notices. They're going to say, well, how much should you have been taxed? Similarly, there are people who are doing self-employment things like driving Uber or Lyft or that kind of stuff, and they don't realize that the IRS is getting information about that income. Or if they're selling items, maybe we had a client who was selling items on eBay, not realizing that at a certain number of transactions, PayPal is going to also generate notice to the IRS. Certain gambling winnings will also be reported to the IRS, and 401k distributions or IRA distributions are going to be reported to the IRS. And all of those things are things that somebody may not realize that they needed to put it on their tax return, so they don't put it on. Then the IRS assesses, but really there are a number of deductions and exclusions that apply to these different kinds of income that could really make a difference. And the IRS doesn't know about them. So they're going to just assess at the highest amount based on what they've heard about. And there's a significant opportunity to reduce or even eliminate the tax liabilities from there. So that is something we absolutely get involved with. On to the next one here. There are times when, say, the IRS thinks that your client has a liability, and in fact, that liability is completely correct. There's no extra deduction or exclusion or something else that we can come up with. It is a correct liability, but your client can't afford to pay it, right? Either they can't pay it at all, they can't pay it right now, they can only pay a small installment agreement, or they might even qualify for reduction to the debt. Now there is a late night TV ad for settle your debt for pennies on the dollar. Anyone who's ever had insomnia may know about this kind of advertisement. It is not as actually awesome an option as what the TV commercials make it sound like, but there are times when it is appropriate and it is available and it would be helpful. And we certainly do that process as well with the clients, only we do it for free instead of those places charge anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 to do that, a flat fee. And often they will take people who are not going to qualify for that program. They take their flat fee up front and then send in the paperwork anyway. It gets denied and they're like, oh well, and the client is out the flat fee. So we will take a more discriminating eye to that, and if it is appropriate and helpful, we are happy to help with that as well. A final category that I put in here is establishing that a client is entitled to innocent spouse or injured spouse consideration. So innocent spouse, just to give you the tiniest little bit of a primer, innocent spouse comes up in the situation where you have a married couple, and normally if you file married filing jointly, which you do not need to, there's a misperception out there, but you do not need to. And if you file jointly and then there's a liability coming out of that, normally you're both responsible for it, right? And the IRS will just go after both people and then until such point that it's paid off. There are a limited number of circumstances when the one of the people might be able to get out of being responsible for that. So if they didn't know about the income, they didn't benefit from it, they're broke now, those are some good reasons for it. If there's domestic violence, they were kept from knowledge about the situation, they weren't allowed to not sign the return. There are different kinds of reasons when you could do that. An injured spouse, it sounds similar. We've got injured, we've got innocent, but injured spouse is when there's a refund coming out of a joint liability, but one partner has, or one spouse has a pre-existing liability that could be offset by the federal government. So for example, back student loan debt, back child support, back income tax debt, right? And so you can put kind of the share of the other person's allocated share of that refund. So if person A made $10,000 in a year, person B made $5,000 in a year, you get a refund. One of those, say the person who makes 5,000 has a back debt, you can preserve 2/3, 10 out of 15 of that refund and send it to the other spouse. So that is basically a way that people can file jointly in order to get all of the credits. Some of these credits, like the earned income tax credit, require that you file jointly if you're married in order to get those credits. And that is a way that you can do that, but still preserve much of the refund to the person who does not have the other back debt obligation. All right, so that's just like a whirlwind. I maybe went through too much detail here on there, but just so you have the kinds of the idea of the kinds of things that come up for low-income clients with regards to their taxes, and what we might be able to do about it. So that was it for the PowerPoint. I promised you short, even though I know I gabbered on about it. But do you have anyone have any questions? Oh, let's see. I do see one here. Can I refer them to nonprofits for help with taxes? Yes, I can refer people to VITA programs. Absolutely. And other nonprofits for sure. It's just they don't want a conflict of interest. Like, for example, you know, I'm of counsel at a local law firm. It would be highly unethical for someone to say, oh no, I can't do this through my LITC, but here, you know, pay my law firm lots of money to do it, right? You know, that would be very bad. So they don't want to have that kind of a situation. Okay, that was the whirlwind. There is a, I have a brochure, or just like a one sheet thing that I think, Amber, we can send out later. That is just a basically just like a little poster, 8.5 by 11 of our program, and we can send that out, and I'd be happy to, you can share that obviously with everybody on your staff, but also with your clients, and so that people can find us when they need us. All right, any other questions? All right, then I think that's it for me then. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was a great explanation. A lot of complicated stuff.
Yes, and I apologize for that. And I know you don't really need to know all those details, but that's the best part, is you don't have to memorize any of those. You are always welcome to call us and explore things. And Amy Scott, who is our clinic administrator, can talk to you, or I can talk to you, and we can kind of work through, you know, if there's just any hint of a tax, anything, just call us and we'll figure out if it's something that we can take on as representation, or if we can give some kind of soft touch advice. We're happy to work through anything with you.
All right, thank you, Nicole. What a great resource to have. Shannon, if you're ready to present, you can go ahead, or I can assist. Just let me know.
Yes, I am ready. Okay, I also have a brief PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm Shannon Etcheverry. I'm the director of Silver Club Memory Programs. So we are an adult day program for people with dementia. We're under the Michigan Medicine umbrella with the Geriatric Center. So if you hear some background noise, it's because our participants are singing right now. You may be able to hear some Yankee Doodle Dandy, but they're having a good time. So here's my contact information if anybody needs to contact me. Okay, so Silver Club, we have been around since 1998, and we provide activities and socialization for people with mild to moderate dementia, including Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We are one of the 3 community programs with the Geriatric Center. So the other 2 programs are the Turner Senior Wellness Program and the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. The Turner Senior Wellness Program is a senior center that focuses on wellness for its participants. So they do everything from health lectures to fitness classes to cooking demonstrations, gaming groups, lots of different things. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute is a learning and retirement program. So they have lots of different lectures and study groups and programs on a variety of topics. So all 3 of those programs are located in the Turner Senior Resource Center. So Silver Club's motto is together we make every moment matter. So we try to abide by that the best that we can. And here's the Turner Senior Resource Center. So we're located on Plymouth Road. We're between Key Bank and the Islamic Center. And then we share that building with those 2 other programs that I mentioned. So there is information on our website and Facebook page if you're ever interested in that. Our Facebook page is fun because we show different activities and updates from our programming. So here's our staff. So our staff, we have a variety of backgrounds. I have a background in social work, as does another employee. Background in activity therapy and art, in the other, we've had, movement therapists, all different kinds of backgrounds that provide the activities. So when we were, the little bus picture, during COVID, we were shut down a couple times to in-person programming. We've been reopened since February to in-person. But while we weren't able to be in person, we were doing some virtual programming via Zoom. So one of the things that we would do is we would have trips around the world and all of us would travel along on a bus together. So we got really creative. At the beginning of this, I did not think that it would work as well as it did, having these types of programming via Zoom for people with dementia, but we made it work and tried to bring a smile to people's faces when they were stuck at home. So we've got a couple of different types of programs. The Day Enrichment Program is our adult day program for people with moderate dementia. So we run Monday through Friday, 10 to 3. Actually, in a couple weeks, we're going to be extending our hours. We're going to be open until 3:30. So not everybody attends every single day. So we've got some people who attend, let's say, every Wednesday. We've got one person who attends 5 days a week. So it really depends on what the participants are looking for, what the family's looking for, and our availability. Right now, we do have a wait list for our moderate programming, but we are in the process of doing some hiring. So we're hoping that that should open up some spots. But I just always encourage families to get in contact with us as soon as possible if they're considering this as an option. So that way, if we don't have availability, we can get them on that wait list as soon as possible. So some of the activities are listed here, but there's lots of things that we do. Music is a big part of our program, as I said, since we have it going on behind me as we speak. Fitness, we know that being physically active is important for everybody, especially older adults. Different art projects, as you can see in that photo, games, trivia, discussion. So really the purpose is twofold, is that it gives the person with dementia a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, a chance to engage with other people in a non-judgmental setting. And then it also provides respite for their caregivers, who are often their spouses or their adult children. It gives them an opportunity to, if they need to go to the store, if they need to go to doctor's appointments, if they want to take a nap. So it really benefits everybody and helps people age in place for as long as possible. So here's just a few fun photos of some of our programming over the years. We are hoping to be able to do it again soon, but that picture On the right is we have the University of Michigan Museum of Art, and we would go to their Meet Me at UMA programs where docents are trained in dementia to lead different programming. We also have a very robust volunteer program with different students, college, high school, even middle schoolers sometimes come in from different church or youth groups. We have people come in for animal therapy. We've got people coming in to do music programs, playing the piano, the guitar. It's just a really fun place for these folks to be. We also have a couple of mild memory loss programs. So maybe for people who have had a more recent dementia diagnosis, or maybe they're just kind of noticing some changes with their cognition and want to see what they could realistically do about it. So the Elderberry program is our all women's program. So it's a play on words, elder, barely elder kind of situation. That's been going on for 10 years. They do a variety of activities. That art project you see there is a project that they've done. They also go out in the community a lot. They do a lot of volunteering. They go to the art museum. They go to food gatherers, things like that. And then MindWorks is a mixed gender group that is a little bit more education based. So Illuminate is the name of the curriculum that we use. So basically the idea is, how can people manage changes in their cognition? So one week we may talk about the importance of fitness, or we may talk about the importance of socialization or special diets. And, we know that some things are with dementia that it can, most of the time, is progressive, and, there may not be a whole lot we can do in some areas, but there are some things that we can do to make sure that people live the best life that they can. So that's also just a supportive environment for those folks that are going through something similar. So here's just some information about if you've got anybody that might be a good fit for our program, how it works. On our website, we have intake paperwork. There's some pictures of what our facility looks like. We can set up a tour. Usually we can just do a 15-minute tour so they can take a look around if they're on the fence, if this is a good program for them. And then we also have an intake process where the potential participant gets to meet the staff, the other members, join in on an activity, and then I would meet with the caregiver to talk about the details of the program, the process, the procedures, all of that. So our fee, we do work on a sliding scale. The most that anyone pays is $20 an hour, but we try to be as flexible as we can. We don't want finances to be a reason why someone can't participate. And we also have a couple of contracts, like with the Area Agency on Aging, the VA, some long-term care insurance plans will cover adult day services. So we'll work with the family to try to hopefully find something that works for them. And also just important to think about that that's a lot less expensive than higher levels of care would be. And so they don't need a doctor's referral. For the adult day program, they do have to have a dementia diagnosis of some kind. And they do not need to be a U of M patient. We have a variety of patients. Some of them are at the Turner Geriatric Clinic, but they don't have to be. So that is a very brief overview of Silver Club and what we do. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I have a question. Can people outside of Washtenaw County participate in the program, or is it just for in county?
They can. We do have people, we have a couple people coming from the Novi area. Yes, as long as they have a way to get here, because obviously transportation can be a little bit tricky. Within this area, we do have people that use A-Ride, but if they can get here, then yes, we can serve anybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also just a really brief update about the Turner Senior Wellness Program and the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute as it relates to COVID and how they're changing operations. The Turner Senior Wellness Program has been on a hybrid, in-person, part virtual, but they're moving to more in-person programming within the next coming weeks, but they're still trying to figure out how they can continue to provide some programming online for people that don't feel comfortable coming in, or maybe they have mobility issues. And then the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute is doing all of their programming online, so people can attend the lectures and study groups and all of that completely virtually, since usually those groups could be hundreds of people together. So if you go on the Turner Senior Resource Center, if you look that up, there's information about all of those community programs if you or anybody that you're working with is interested. All right, I think if nobody has any other questions, I think I'm done, and thank you for the opportunity. And please, anybody, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Really appreciate you presenting on that. I think a lot of people don't know a whole lot about what you guys do. So glad to hear from you. All right, I'll go ahead and give our quick budget update. And then we'll be able to leave early this month. All right. So our Barrier Busters funding overall is a little low right now as far as what we have available for the general fund. My apologies. We're hoping that will change soon. We do still have CARES and housing and utilities funding available at a very limited amount. Most of your clients will likely qualify for SARA. So these are for clients who are not eligible for SARA, who would be using this funding mostly. Where we have the most money right now is that Ypsilanti Area Emergency Assistance Program for residents in 48197 and 48198. Did anyone have any questions about funding? All right, as always, if you're putting in a Barrier Busters request, we will try to help you the best way we can and try to be flexible. If you're not sure if it's something that qualifies for Barrier Busters requests, send us an email at the staff email and we'll try to work it out. Does anyone have any questions about that? All right, hearing none and seeing none, we can go ahead and adjourn for this month. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Just as a quick reminder, we are updating our agency contact list. So if you have updates to staff or programming availability, please just let us know and we'll get it up on our website. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.